Hi, this is Brendan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm here with Adam, and we're holding down the fort. Joel is going to rejoin us probably in the next week or so, but he's in recovery from cultivation and design work, so we'll see him when he gets back. And before we start, I just want to remind people, check out Wandering Heroes of Ogregate at Drive-Thru or Studio 2 Publishing if you want it in print. And Strange Tales of New England is available. It's a modern horror RPG. And it's also available at Drive-Thru and in print through Studio 2, or you can get them both at our website. And so today we're talking about one of my all-time favorites, Intimate Confessions of a Chinese Courtesan. And this is a 1972 film directed by Chor Yuen. It stars Lily Ho and Betty Pei. And again, going for it, I apologize if I mispronounce any names here. And the synopsis of it from IMDb is: a poor girl sold into prostitution soon becomes the focus of a detective's investigation when a series of murders occur at the brothel where she works. I mean, that's not inaccurate, but I feel like that really misses the sort of the. This is not a murder investigation. This is not. I mean, there's a murder mystery in this movie, but it's a rape revenge film with a wuxia.
You're watching it from the viewpoint of the murderer, not from the investigator.
Yeah.
So it's
it does.
Yeah, exactly.
It does open in the middle of the story with kind of a flash forward to the investigator investigating things, but then they go back to when it all started. So, and there's never a doubt once you start seeing things through the main character Ainu's eyes, there's never any doubt who the murderer is, and we're going to be spoiling things.
I don't even think the investigator has any doubt.
No,
to be honest.
No. In fact,
no one is confused about what's going on here, really.
Yeah, in fact, he has no doubt from the very beginning. He's trying to arrest her, but the issue is he just doesn't have the evidence. He needs for whatever reason he needs like really concrete evidence, much more than you would normally need in a movie like this. So he's
It doesn't help that all his victims are not helping him at all either.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a lot of people meddling in his investigation.
So before we start with the movie, I'll maybe give it a bit of an introduction for people who don't know what it is. Obviously, that title is a mouthful, and that title is not an inaccurate representation of the kind of material you're about to see, but that is not the title in Chinese. I believe the title in Chinese is just Ainu, the name of the main character.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I'll look it up to double check that and maybe post in the comments. But I believe that is not the title, and that title, it makes it sound a little bit more like a Skinamax type situation. Is it Ainu?
Ainu in Mandarin is the original title. Yeah.
And so that's, I think, gives you if it was called Ainu, it would feel a little bit more like a little bit more artsy. I think there's a lot of films that are like just the character's name, and then all this erotic stuff happens, but it's all done where the camera is like, the craftsmanship is on display, and respectable people can watch it. Intimate Confessions of a Chinese Courtesan, you say that and it makes people like, oh, maybe we shouldn't watch this, but it's
I think it is an R-rated movie, but there's a lot more to it. Like the early part of it does feel like it might be kind of Ilsa, what's the harem keeper of the oil sheiks type movie or something, but it becomes a lot more interesting as it goes on. There is early, like I said, it's I love Chor Yuen, so I was pretty confident going into this I would love the movie. But early on, I'm like, okay, is the whole movie going to be like this? And not the movie beginning's bad, but you're not sure where I had no idea where it was going in the early part of the movie. That's all.
Well, and the other thing about this movie is it's it's one of the movies that really, I think. It wasn't like his first big blockbuster, but I think it was the first film that really got him attention after he directed Duel for Gold. And to me, it looks like a film that's heavily inspired by movies like The Vampire Lovers. And there's definitely a Hammer film, Shaw Brothers shared aesthetic, which, I mean, eventually they work, there actually are joint productions, and they're seamless because their styles are so similar in so many ways. and so I think that makes sense. But one of the things that this movie does is it's one of the first movies. So according to Stephen Teo, who wrote a book on wuxia cinema, and again, I hope I'm not mispronouncing his name because I'm just going by memory here. But he says this is like the first erotic wuxia movie ever. I don't know if that's true, but I can't think of another one, so we'll just assume that he's being accurate.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one of the first times you see like not hinted at lesbianism in a wuxia movie, and so it's notable just for those reasons alone. But it's also like I said, it's kind of got like an exploitation vibe to it. It's got like a lot of those like it does fit into sort of the rape revenge genre of movies as well.
Yep.
So there is that, but because it's Chor Yuen, it's done with this beautiful style of cinematography and editing and interesting musical choices, and also interesting thing like there's a lot of like, I still don't feel like I've cracked this movie in terms of like what Chor Yuen is necessarily trying to say, but you can tell he's trying to convey something because there are recurring themes in the movie. Do you know what I mean? And so it's a movie that you'll watch, but then you'll think about a lot because you'll be like, okay, well, what why is he doing it this way? What's the point of that? And on top of that,
very rewatchable, I think too. I mean, I only watched it once, but I feel like I could sit down and watch this again in a couple of days and just to pull more out of it.
It's definitely one of those kind of movies. And the other thing is, it's a film that it has a very satisfying ending. I feel like. Yeah, we were just talking about The Thundering Sword, which has this Shakespearean quality, and this feels like, again, it's not like Shakespearean tragedy where, well, I guess everybody almost kind of dies at the end of this, but and I'm going to spoil things. The way that the two leads die, where there's poison lipstick involved, it's very effective, and it's an emotionally cathartic, and it feels like a satisfying conclusion. So it feels like that's the ending that was supposed to happen. And so, and on top of that, there's really great fight choreography throughout. The casting is perfect, I think, in this movie. This is a very well cast movie. And again, it's a nice example of like these early Chor Yuen movies. You've probably observed this yourself, Adam. His later movies kind of widen the lens a lot. I don't know if you've noticed this, but his early movies, they're a little more Sergio Leone. Do you know what I mean? There's a little bit more that like that extra close-up type of shot going on, like in the opening sequence of this one, where she's kind of drifting across the screen and you're hearing the music. And
same in the fight choreography too. I mean, the fight choreography is very good. I don't mean like in a way where they're kind of concealing stuff, but the shot, a lot of the fight choreography shots were very tight.
Yeah, and I think what that when the shot is wide, what that gives you is there's no place for the actors to hide, so you see everything, and you do get shots like that in this movie.
Yeah,
but when they're close, what you get is a more artistic framing of what's going on sometimes, and so I think when it's all just panned out, you don't always get the director capturing like the full beauty of the moment because they're not focusing in on the thing that is significant or whatever. And this is a movie where the close-ups really tell they tell just as much of the story as the dialogue or any other feature of it.
Yeah. Well, to steal a word from the title, the shots are very intimate.
Yeah.
You could put it.
And so I don't know. To me, it's I think it's his masterpiece. Like it's fantastic.
Yeah. I gotta say, as a Chor Yuen fan, I was once this movie got going and I kind of got a feel for the story and everything, I was completely sucked into this.
Yeah. And it's also just like it's groundbreaking. It's again, Chor Yuen is great. We were just talking about Web of Death and all these other movies. Anytime we've had the podcast, he comes up a lot. But the reason why I like this one is if all you've seen is like Magic Blade and Web of Death and any of these other Gulong inspired wuxia films, when you go back and you watch Duel for Gold and you watch Intimate Confessions of a Chinese Courtesan, it's you're kind of struck by the filmmaking. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like there's a, and again, it's not like the later movies are still great too, but there's, like Killer Klans is a classic, but this one you see it and you're like, oh, this looks like something that would have won an award. Do you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what was your reaction overall when you first? Because I mean, this is your first time seeing it, right?
Yeah, like I said, early on, it does feel very exploitive in the early part where she's first captured and they're trying to break her and everything and kind of torture and rape and all kind. And it's like, I mean, it's well shot, it's well done. It does feel, like a lot of 70s exploitation movies. As I mentioned, the Ilsa movies, it had that kind of vibe to it. But there's this kind of turn in the movie where she's like, okay, I'm going to do this thing, but I'm going to I'm going to be a courtesan, but I'm going to do it in a way to get my vengeance through being a courtesan. And it's like that's where the movie just totally shifts into gear, and I was I was just on board. And I'd say the ending, there's I don't we probably want to wait to talk about the ending, but the ending is perfect. I feel like for character reasons, the way that plays out is beautifully structured.
Yeah,
it's just great all around.
No, and I think the beginning is definitely rough to watch. I think there's no
but it's worth pushing through that, even if you find it unpleasant.
And what I will say in the beginning's defense is that it really is establishing what she's going through to get to that point. So it's kind of I'm trying to think. It would be kind of like in Ms. 45, where there's like the 2 rape scenes at the beginning. Yeah. Those are really grueling to watch, but the rest of it doesn't have any meaning if you don't witness those sections of the film.
Ms. 45, interesting to bring up in the context of this movie, actually. I didn't think about that.
Well, and what's funny is it doesn't really have anything to do with anything, but in Ms. 45, she's the mute. And it's interesting that in this one, there's a mute, but it's the guy, and he's not really a mute, as we find out. But there's a mute who befriends her early on. I think that's, for me, the real turning point. Like, because I had a similar reaction. Well, I guess when I first saw it, that opening sequence where it's like the constable is investigating, I was struck by that. I remember seeing that. I was like, oh, there's a green lens. What's the green lens for? I don't understand why there's a green lens. And I still frankly don't, but I find it visually striking. And then then he says, they allude to the fact that Ainu was the one who was there that night, and then they go to a shot of Ainu. I think it's Ainu. I'm pretty sure. I have to go back and double check, make sure it's not the madam. What's her name? Mrs. Lady Chun. But that sequence where she's kind of just floating across the screen and they're playing the music, it's like watching fish in a fishbowl. Do you know what I mean? It's like
it is.
And because he's doing all these close-ups, he's like insisting that you like see. To me, like that opening feels like it's like a study in beauty. Do you know what I mean? Like he's just getting close-ups of her face, close-ups of her physical movement, of her form, and I feel like for Chor Yuen that's very appropriate because his films all look beautiful, and opening a movie with like a kind of just like a study in beauty, it seems like that's like a recurring theme for him in general. So it's interesting now you bring that up. So we're talking about how the early part of the movie is pretty ugly. You've got kind of that, but it's like he does give you this nice vision. Cause that happens before we get into the actual story. So we've had a little murder scene. Then we have that shot of beauty, which kind of pulls you in before it's like, okay, here, have something nice before we go through the ugly part of this. And he's kind of showing you like this is like the ugly part exists beneath that. Do you know what I mean? It's like concealed from view. And so that's also what's sort of interesting in terms of just the craftsmanship of the movie, I think. And again, I'm not like a film academic, so I'm just reading it as a viewer. I'm not as skilled in the language of cinema, but that's how I kind of come to that. Is like there's this hidden layer to it, and then you get the brutal beginning where she's kidnapped and she's in prison, and then you get like a woman on woman rape scene, which is very exploitation movie because they cue like a Pink Floyd song and it's got like a lot of bass in it or something. It just sounds like like it's like a very 70s, almost porn sounding thing. And I don't even remember what Pink Floyd song it is. I just know it's Pink Floyd. But the interesting thing about that scene, if you're paying attention, throughout the movie, Lady Chun she's almost depicted as a vampire. Do you know what I mean? And I said that like Vampire Lovers was clearly an influence here. There are scenes where she like opens a door and it's kind of like Finger of Doom, where Ivy Ling Po is framed as a vampire, even though she's just a martial artist. She's not a vampire, but she's creepy. And here, she's not as morbid as the Ivy Ling Po character, but cinematically, they're using like the visual cues of a vampire for Lady Chun. And her first real interaction with Ainu, after she's been whipped, is to lick the blood from her wounds before she, basically sexually assaults her. And so I feel like the vampire thing is like a very deliberate thing that they're like. That's
there's a very monstrous quality to her fighting style too. The whole gouging your fingers into someone. I mean, it's very much like I can't think of the name of it, the skull piercing technique that what's her name used in Condor Heroes. Chow,
the black, I think it's the something black claw technique, or the yin. I don't know, I'll look it up, but I don't know what you're talking about.
It's not the same.
They turn your head into a bowling
visceral
ball
feel. Exactly. But yeah, that made me think, because it's just a very gruesome martial technique.
Well, and also like Finger of Doom too, because at one point she uses that to stick her fingers in the back of somebody's neck, and then again she licks the blood off of the fingertips, and so she is like this very monstrous character with a surprising amount of depth, though, by the time you get to the end of the movie, which is interesting. So she's not just a cardboard cutout of a villain and again, I think those are great characters. I have nothing wrong with a two-dimensional villain in a wuxia movie, but I think her character has a little bit more depth, and I think that works because this is very much a female character-driven movie. The men are kind of on the periphery of the story in a lot of ways.
What's interesting is that the complexity of her character is that she is pretty much just a monster. Yeah. It's like there is depth to it. I don't want to say you're wrong. You're totally right. But I'm saying it is that the final reveal is like, oh yeah, she's really, really kind of cold. And
but what I mean is, in terms of depth, that she has genuine feelings for Ainu, and that those feelings lead to her being deluded and not realizing that Ainu is plotting against her, when everybody around her can see that Ainu is clearly plotting against her. And she ends up allying herself with Ainu against her own people. And so it's just you don't normally see that with a wuxia villain. Do you know what I mean? That level of devotion to another character that's that self-destructive.
It's fascinating, to get into the ending a little bit, that Ainu's whole thing is she makes these people love her so much that they become unable to see the threat. Yeah. But that's exactly what happens to her at the end of the movie. Yeah. And it's like she dies exactly as she killed, basically.
And what's funny is, like, every time she does it, you're like, how are these men like not seeing? And then but then she goes to them and you're like, oh, I can see why this guy thinks that, because the acting is really well done. I think Lily Ho was chosen, she's perfect for this role. She has I don't know if you've ever seen her in Lady with a Sword or 14 Amazons.
You sent me Lady with a Sword. I have not watched that yet. I still need to watch that.
I mean, but it's interesting if you go back and you watch her when you watch Lady with the Sword, or I think the thing that I would say is keep an eye out for how different her characterization of that character is versus this one, because it's really striking. You can certainly see the connect. Like you can see, she like actors always have features that stand out or whatever. But I think between her role in that and her role in the 14 Amazons, you can get a really good sense of and she's been in a ton of movies, but a really good sense of her range. But here
I need to watch 14 Amazons again. That's one of the first wuxia movies I watched, and I'm like, I barely remember it. I need to give that another look.
That's a good watch.
Yeah, I liked it.
But I like the whole way that she just kind of wraps these men around her finger like that. It's like it's in a way
It's
very
really well done.
believable. Yeah.
It is. It is. Well, I mean, another thing too is that, you know, the men she's killing all just view these women as toys that they're
Yeah.
playing with. It's like the idea that she's going to kill them is, you know, almost farcical to an extent
Yeah.
to them, I think. And, you know, and even if they later ones start to believe it a bit, you know, it's like almost to I don't know. It's almost to an extent like they what am I trying to say
No,
here?
I think I get what you're saying because in the scenes where like the constable goes to them, he goes to each of them. Is like, look, this lady is trying to kill you, and they're like, no, get out of here! Like you're crazy. What are you talking? Like it is
Yeah.
almost to the point of like a farce where. Just and even their servants are like, you know, like at one point the constable gets nervous and he goes back and he's like, no, I got to go check because I think something's wrong, and the servants are like, no, listen, the noise, like he's having a good time, don't interrupt his good time. Like nobody sees that exactly what she's trying to do, that's that close to her. And so I think that I think I see what you're getting at, and also these are the she's going after the men. Just for people who haven't seen it, in the opening sequence, these are the men who like basically rape her at the beginning. Like first, Lady Chun rapes her, and then these men rape her, and so she's going after all of them. But she starts with the men, and she actually does a very good job of weaving a lie for Lady Chun, where she just is like, no, now I just like despise men, and so and so she kind of appeals to like Lady Chun's own personality to kind of get her to tacitly approve of these murders that she's committing.
Yeah.
And then at the end, she basically says, "Look, I've been using love as a weapon. Like that's the weapon that I." And so it's a very wuxia line of like the whole idea in martial arts is being able to use anything as a weapon, right? Like I can take a penny and I can throw it through your brain. I can, you know, whatever it is, use any thing available to you and weaponize it. And so being able to use love as a weapon where she totally shields herself so that she's completely able to commit these murders like pretty much without anybody stepping in to stop her. Even the constable can't really do anything. Is impressive.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, well, the thing she doesn't seem to understand, you know, she acts like, you know, using love as a weapon is this thing I figured out. And but it's like what she doesn't realize is that's what Lady Chun has been doing the whole time. And that's why she gets one upped at the end. It's like, you know, the guy who set up the brothel for her. It's like she's not sleeping with him. She's just using him. There, you know, and clearly he's in love with her. She's using love as a weapon against him. There's the guy who goes out and gathers the women for him. She's using him. It's like she doesn't see the fact that and of course that's, you know, I don't think Lady Chun doesn't succeed at this, but she really does try to seduce Ainu. It's like she thinks she seduced Ainu, but she really hasn't. But it's like really she's just playing Lady Chun's game from a slightly more ethical viewpoint, really.
Well, and that's the reason she dies is because she still has like a trace of humanity at the end. And and Lady Chun does not. She's able to do all this without any sense of guilt or any of that stuff. And the storyline with the guy that he's basically like, I guess you could say he's like her number two. He's like also like the person who kind of like trains people in martial arts and stuff. And but the whole relationship between him and her, where he is in love with her and she is not reciprocating his love, but it's still enough for him to remain loyal to her and close to her until the very, very, very end of the movie. You know, that's a pretty interesting love triangle, I think, as well in the story.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, and I just think too just to get it into the fights as well. The fight choreography in this, I think, is visually very stunning, especially for the era.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really surprised for, you know, a 1972 movie to have such flawless fight choreography. Well, it really impressed me.
So there's and again, I am going to pronounce this name incorrectly, but Simon Chui is the person who did the fight choreography, And he often worked with somebody else. So a lot of these are martial arts direction. But just to give you a list of movies: Shadow Whip, Vengeance of a Snow Girl, Lady with a Sword, Duel for Gold, Fingers of Doom, Black Tavern, which is, I think, got maybe some of the best fight choreography of this era.
I'm glad you brought that up, because when she breaks out the whip, you know, in the last scene, near the last scene, I immediately thought of the Black Tavern. My brain went right there. I'm glad I meant to bring that up and it slipped my mind, so I'm glad you did.
And also Tattooed Dragon and Flying Guillotine, and that's just a handful of movies that he was involved in. So I mean, I think the fight choreography is, a lot of it is due to the martial arts direction, but also that Chor Yuen style that he just generally brings to these movies.
It meshes, yeah. I mean, to give you an example where the directing style and the choreography style just come together perfectly. One character, when Lady Chun drives her hand entirely through the torso of the guy and he cuts her arm off. I mean, it's like, that is just amazing. I'm like, I've never, there's so few moments now where I see something in a movie and I'm like, I have never seen that before, but that was incredible.
That was a very impressive, and also the shock of it, because Lady Chun is this really powerful character, and you just don't expect her when you first see it to lose her arm, and then her other arm. You're right, like, you know.
I know.
So I mean, it's really, and Chor Yuen, he does love taking limbs. Like, that's definitely a thing that, you know. But I think that maiming is a really effective storytelling device in swordplay movies, because it is the thing. I mean, again, that would be the thing that I'm sure everybody is afraid of: losing your arm in a sword fight, or losing your leg in a sword fight. Just like when people go to war, you know, we know that people come back from war with missing legs and missing arms and disfigured faces, and so it really, I think, enhances the sense of like a dark and dangerous martial world when, you know,
it's also losing the ability to do the thing you're best at.
Yes.
I mean, like, my sister was a ballet dancer, and when she was like, I think 19 or 20, she injured her ankle and she was just done. That's it. It's like, it's not like she's really, you know, crippled in a day-to-day sense. She just can't ballet dance anymore, and she had to start all over again. She spent her entire teen years learning. I used to drive her to class every night for ballet class in the city, and it's like, that was her thing, and it's like, it's over, it's done, you know, sorry.
No, and again, that's her main weapon. You know, impaling people with fingers and hands is her main weapon. And so, you know, again, the fight choreography is great. And also, this movie, there is like a couple of martial scenes early on that are quick, but it really spends about 30 minutes before it gives you your first proper, like, sword fight. Do you know what I mean? Like before you really, like, you get some stuff early on. I'm not saying there isn't anything, but it then builds the story for about 30 minutes before you really get action. And I think that restraint with the pacing of the sword play, but then kind of once it starts, you start getting a much more steady flow of fighting. Really works for the pacing of the movie, because then it's like you have this kind of this early section where things are building, but then it kind of starts to really move, and so you never really feel bored. You know what I mean? It doesn't take an hour to get there.
No, this was a really well-paced movie, I have to say. It's it's being an hour and a half, and it's just the perfect length. I really was impressed with the pacing.
Yeah, no, the pacing is really good. And I guess we should, because we've been going on for about 30 minutes now. We should probably talk about the ending, because I know you said you want to talk about that. On its own.
I kind of did already.
Okay, well, if you already covered it.
The point I was kind of holding back was the point I made about how, you know, basically, Ainu basically gets killed by the same technique she used by you know, it's like, I'm gonna make everybody love me, and it's like, oh, well, I'll give her a last kiss, you know, and nope, that's what got you.
Also, but I will say about that final fight, that is one of the most beautifully shot fight scenes in terms of, like, blending together theme and movement. Do you know what I mean? Like, because there's this whole theme of like them mirroring each other, like they keep saying we are one, like you know what I mean, there's like a duality of the two of them, and I feel like the fight really captures that, with them like fighting back to back and facing off against all of the male character. Like they basically fight every male character in the movie except the constable. I think Constable doesn't show up. He's kind of dealing with somebody else. He doesn't show up until the very end, when she's already dead. But it kind of becomes like a again, it just really works where like they're sort of joined together fighting against all the men, then they turn on each other and they kill each other, and it's like it's just like a very beautiful ending in terms of like a wuxia movie that's tragic and dramatic and all the rest.
Yes,
but yeah, I mean, again, I think like people shouldn't. Number one, I don't want to minimize the fact that this is definitely a very mature film. Like in the sense of there's a lot of nudity, there's a lot of adult themes and all the rest, and there's it's a rape revenge movie, so there's obviously rape in the movie and things like that. But I hope people can get past the title of it and watch it, because there's a real movie in here. It's not like they just are trying to get away with just having these exploitative elements in them and hoping that does the trick. That's kind of, I think, to get people in to watch the movie. I think that's sort of the idea. But once you're there, you're really there to watch a movie. And I think Chor Yuen is good at that. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, as far as the quality of this movie, it's just getting past the title and everything. But it's like, I own this movie in the Shawscope Arrow box set, and it's on the same disc as Lady Hermit, and I feel like it deserves to be on the same disc as Lady Hermit. It's as good a movie as Lady Hermit. There you go.
And
which is for me a big praise.
And you were saying like the title is Ainu, and I think the thing again, I don't know Mandarin, but I do know that at the end when she says, I think she says wa Ainu wa Aini, or wa Aini Ainu, and wa Aini is I love you. And so it's kind of an interesting play on words. Do you know what I mean? Like it just,
that is interesting.
Because that line, like even if you don't understand what they're saying, sometimes you just listen to how it sounds, you can get a sense of how poetic the phrasing is, even if you have no idea what the words mean. It's like listening to a song in another language. You're like, I don't know what that means, but I know that was a good.
It's beautiful.
That was a good word choice in terms of the sounds, right? And so here, I think the ending where she says that, it stands out. And so I think if it had, again, maybe it's better that it didn't have the Ainu title, because nobody would know what that is, and you know what I mean. Like it doesn't really mean anything to anybody. But again, I feel like the Chinese
the movie I Love You. That would be the perfect way to describe the movie.
Well, and to be clear, I think the play on words is that her name is Ainu, and I think I means love. I'm not sure, but I think that's the. And so when she says "wa Aini Ainu" or "Ainu wa Aini," I can't remember how it's phrased. It just has this. I don't know. It has like this. Like I'm making a wave motion with my finger. Like it has this. This thing that like if I was reading poetry in English, I feel like I would kind of feel it as a flowing wave or something. Like there's a. Do you know what I mean? There's like a iambic pentameter. There's some kind of rhythm to it that I'm picking up on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. And so, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, I feel like the original title seems like it's a little bit more poetic than Intimate Confessions of a Chinese Courtesan.
It's not a great title. Yeah. I think we can just stay that. Yeah, the title the title does not help this movie. I mean, it's not even. I mean, to be honest, to rip on the title a bit. I mean, it's not like it's presented as a confession or any. The confession part doesn't make any sense. It's not, like there's that. I read that Arthur Golden book from about 30 years ago about a geisha. I forget, his Diary of a Geisha or something. Oh, I remember when that. Yeah, Memoirs of a Geisha. That was it. Memoirs of a Geisha. I knew Diary wasn't right. I was like, what's the word I'm looking for? But I mean, I read that. I was in Japan at the time, and that book was very popular, so I read it back then. But I'm sorry.
Well, I get what you're saying.
I keep having these brain farts of my brain just shutting down.
You're expecting something that's like an actual. You almost expect it to be these episodic series of confessions of salacious details.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you're expecting to go in and watch something like In the Realm of the Senses, something like that, right? Like that's kind of the expectation the title builds, I think, and that's really not what it is. It's got those elements in the same way that The Vampire Lovers has those elements, but as Vampire Lovers is a real vampire movie, this is a real wuxia movie, and it's very artfully done, and so it's not, and the plot is not at all about her sexual exploits or any of that stuff. It's about her revenge.
Yeah.
And the sexual stuff is there, but that's more as backstory to everything that happens in the movie when the plot really gets going.
Yeah, and it's less explicit than, say, a lot of the 80s Hong Kong stuff. I mean, what was the movie we reviewed a while back? The really gonzo one with the torture at the end. I can't think of the title.
Portrait in Crystal? Portrait in Crystal?
Portrait in Crystal, yeah. So, like, that, even though overall it's just pretty much a fairly normal wuxia plot, that one scene they put in near the end puts it way beyond anything you see in this movie.
Yeah, I would agree. No, this movie is actually pretty respectable in most of the. There's a few scenes where it's a little bit much, but like even like
I wouldn't watch it with your kids. Yeah, but it's as our movies go, it's reasonable.
Yeah, but for the most part, you're dealing with plot. It's not like plot just to get to the next sex scene kind of a movie. Do you know what I mean? Like 10 minutes of plot and then.
They convey things without belaboring them. Like the last guy she kills, obviously earlier in the movie you've got that scene where he initially has his way with her.
Yeah.
And they kind of have this quick scene where you see he kind of whips at her a couple of times.
Yeah.
But they could. I feel like a much more exploitive movie would have made that into a whole, exploitive torture scene thing. And it's like, okay, we get the sense. Okay, he whips her. He's a sadistic bastard, and boom, scene over. I think that scene's like 20 seconds at most. So it's not looking to. The elements are there, but it's not wallowing in them.
No, and a lot of those scenes are actually what a lot of them are is they're mirror. Like how the scene with her floating across the screen is shot in slow motion at points, and it's kind of got. There's a lot of those. The early rape sequence. There are sections that are shot in slow motion, but it's mostly the guys kind of leering at the camera. And
was the freeze frames. You get those freeze frames with leering, which is very effective, I think, because then they go back to those freeze frames.
Yeah.
With each murder scene, right before she shifts into murder mode, we get that freeze frame again. It's like that was a fantastic directing choice.
Yeah, that really did work. And so I mean, again, it's like you're saying, it's not like it's when he does show you things that are uncomfortable, sometimes it's just to force you to see what she's dealing with, but it's not like it's there are definitely way more intense movies than this, for sure. And so so I mean, I don't know, I think people should see this movie. I always talk about it whenever I get an opportunity to do so. I'm going to be doing a review, by the way, on Eastern Kicks of it, so hopefully I'll have like a print review to also kind of talk about this movie again. But I just think it's a worthy watch. It just came out on a new box set, but we were I think both of us were just watching the one on Amazon or from you had the box the Shawscope, which
I think it's volume 3 Shawscope. What was in, I believe.
So, but I definitely recommend checking it out. You can just rent it on Amazon at this point, so it's widely available. And and yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything else to add, or are we kind of good to go?
Good, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we'll end it there, and until next time, we will talk to you later.